It's comedy folklore how Jerry Seinfeld turned a TV show about nothing into the most successful sitcom in history.
Remember when a show about four self-absorbed New Yorkers talking about absolutely nothing became the biggest thing on television? When conversations about puffy shirts, marble rye, and double-dipping somehow felt more urgent than actual news? That was Seinfeld, the sitcom that tested worse than any pilot in NBC history, almost got canceled 5 times, and went on to become one of the most successful shows ever made. But behind Jerry, George, Elaine, and Kramer's apartment hangouts was chaos nobody saw coming. A test screening so disastrous that executives wanted to fire Jerry from his own show. A money offer so massive it made a CEO go numb when it got rejected. And on-set meltdowns that added weeks to the shooting schedule and sent people to the hospital. Today we're counting down 15 weird facts you didn't know about Seinfeld. The near cancellations, the on-set disasters, the insane money, and the stuff you never noticed even after your 347th rewatch. Now before we dive in, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to TV Time Capsule for deep dives into the shows that raised us, and share this video with a friend who can quote every Kramer entrance. Let's get into it with number 15. Number 15. The test screening so bad, they wanted to fire Jerry from his own show. July 1989. NBC screened The Seinfeld Chronicles to 400 test households in Burbank. The audience sat with individual dials to rate their interest. Green meant they liked it, red meant they didn't. For 23 minutes straight, those dials stayed in the red. When it ended, researchers collected feedback forms and delivered them to NBC executives waiting in the next room. Warren Littlefield, who'd later become NBC's president of entertainment, opened the folder. The first page had 2 words stamped across the top. Overall, evaluation, weak. The actual audience comments were brutal. No segment of the audience was eager to watch the show again. These are losers. Why would we watch this? We know who Jerry Seinfeld is. He should not do this show. One person wrote, "You'd have to pay me to watch another episode." Kevin Riley, the development exec present, later called it probably the lowest testing pilot in the history of NBC. Other pilots that season scored in the 50s and 60s. Seinfeld scored in the low 40s. Some categories were in the 30s. Brandon Tartikoff, NBC's programming chief, told Jerry this doesn't work. One executive suggested keeping the concept, but replacing Jerry Seinfeld with a real actor. Fire Jerry from a show called Seinfeld, playing a comedian named Jerry Seinfeld. Castle Rock Entertainment hedged their bets. They'd produced 2 pilots, the other, Ann Gillian, tested beautifully. NBC ordered a full season immediately. When Seinfeld bombed, Castle Rock shifted everything to Ann Gillian. Ann Gillian aired September 1990, canceled December 1990. 13 episodes total. The pilot that tested worse than anything in NBC history became the #1 show in America. But first, it had to survive being legally dead. Number 14. The $400,000 gamble that saved television. May 1989. NBC announces its fall schedule. Seinfeld isn't on it. The show is officially dead. Rick Ludwin, VP of Late Night and Specials, had been in that screening room when the pilot tested. While everyone saw disaster, he saw something he couldn't explain. So he made a career-ending bet. Ludwin had roughly $400,000 earmarked for comedy specials that year. He told his bosses, "I'm giving up my entire year's budget to make 4 more episodes of Seinfeld." His colleagues thought he'd lost his mind. That money was supposed to fund multiple projects. Instead, he was betting it all on a show research had rejected. NBC had never ordered 4 episodes of anything. Jerry asked Ludwin, in the history of television, Has anything ever worked with a 4-episode order? Ludwin admitted he didn't know. Jerry said, "Okay, we'll do it." Those 4 episodes, shot late 1989, aired May 1990. Almost nobody watched. Larry David told Jerry he was done and didn't have any more stories. Jerry convinced him to continue. NBC ordered 13 more for Season 2, then scheduled it against Tim Allen's Home Improvement. It got slaughtered, Warren Littlefield recalled, but they'd committed. They moved it after Cheers, one more shot. Slowly, audiences found it. By Season 4, Seinfeld was number 1. Rick Ludwin, who gambled $400,000 of special money on a failed pilot, became a legend. One man's unauthorized bet became a billion-dollar franchise. Number 13, the 80-pound air conditioner that split Michael Richards' face open. The parking garage episode. Kramer carries an air conditioning unit the entire time. Michael Richards told props he wanted it real. Not a prop, an actual 80-pound air conditioner. The crew thought he was insane, but Richards was methodical about physical comedy. If Kramer's struggling, Richards wanted to actually struggle. Filming started 6 p.m. By 2 a.m., everyone was punchy. Jerry and Julia were so tired the crew applied makeup while they laid on the concrete floor. Jason kept giggling, ruining takes. Director Tom Chironis was furious. Richards, actually exhausted from carrying 80 pounds for hours, would glare. Then came the trunk scene. Kramer loads the AC into his car trunk. The crew realized the trunk was barely 3/4 of an inch wider than the box. Almost zero clearance. Richards wanted to do it in character, Kramer's jerky movements. Take 1. Richards shuffled up, air conditioner in both hands. He adjusted, fell forward with full weight. The box stopped short on the trunk lip. Richards' face kept going, crack. His lip smashed into the sharp corner and split open. Blood poured down his chin. Julia, 3 feet away, saw everything. She gasped, then started laughing. Richards, bleeding, stayed in character. "I really hurt myself, Elaine." Julia tried to nod, but couldn't speak. Jerry saw the blood, started laughing. Richards tried his next line. Even he started laughing. The medic cleaned the wound. No stitches needed, but it swelled immediately. They shot the next scene 30 minutes later. Watch the episode. Richards' upper lip is visibly puffy afterward. That's an 80-pound air conditioner to the face. Number 12. Julia's laughing problem cost thousands in overtime. Seinfeld had a corpsing problem. Julia Louis-Dreyfus broke the most, by far. One crew member calculated roughly 70% of all breaks across 9 seasons were Julia losing it. Jerry was second worst. Richards would do something unexpected, and Jerry would collapse into giggle fits. The marine biologist? The scene where Kramer confesses he hit golf balls into the ocean took 17 takes because Jerry kept breaking. Each ruined take meant resetting lights, repositioning cameras, fixing makeup. Scenes ballooning from 30 minutes to 3 hours. Crew overtime adding up. Episodes wrapping in 7 or 8 days instead of 5. Julia developed techniques, biting her cheek until it hurt, using pain to stay focused. Jason would turn his back to the camera. Jerry had no defense, just apologized and asked to go again. The worst part? Richards hated it. He rarely broke, stayed in character no matter what. Watching co-stars ruin takes drove him crazy. Julia found this hilarious. The more frustrated he got, the funnier it was. "It's like being in church," she said. "You're not supposed to laugh." Same thing working with Michael because it's so serious. In the opposite, George wears a toupee. During one take, the wig shifted and fell half off. The entire set descended into laughter. Julia lost it for 30 straight minutes. Richard stood there, arms crossed, visibly annoyed. He later joked he'd handle it with a 4x4. but part of him wasn't entirely joking. When you're genuinely funny to each other, the laughter is real and expensive. Number 11. The holiday that started as actual childhood trauma. A Festivus for the rest of us. The strike episode introduced Festivus in December 1997. Frank Costanza's made-up holiday, with the aluminum pole, airing of grievances, and feats of strength. People thought it was satire. It was real. Writer Dan O'Keefe's father actually celebrated Festivus, starting in 1966, not as a joke. A mandatory family tradition young Dan dreaded yearly. The airing of grievances, real. The family sat while Dan's father listed everything everyone did wrong that year. For hours. One year it went past midnight. Young Dan sitting there wishing he could be anywhere else. Feats of strength? Also real, but weirder. O'Keefe Sr. challenged family members to physical contests, wrestling, arm wrestling, to prove their worth. Dan as a kid having to wrestle his own father for approval. Less like a holiday, more like an annual performance review. The pole? Originally a clock in a bag. A literal clock inside a bag, representing the flow of time. Dan's father would place it in the center room. The family sat around it contemplating mortality, or whatever philosophical point he was making. Young Dan hated it. This wasn't comedy. It was bizarre philosophy forced on family. When Dan became a Seinfeld writer, he pitched it to process childhood trauma through comedy. The writers thought it was hilarious. They cleaned it up, made it absurd, aired it. Within years, people started actually celebrating Festivus. You can buy polls on Amazon. Cities officially recognize it. Offices hold airings of grievances. Dan's response? I turned my childhood nightmare into a holiday people love. I don't know how to feel. His father, thrilled, felt vindicated. Childhood trauma became a hallmark moment. Number 10. The wedding dance that sent Julia to a trash can. The hand jive, one of Seinfeld's most iconic sequences. The wedding dance in the maestro. Everyone is moving, grooving, looking like they're having the time of their lives. They were dying. The scene was filmed on Stage 19 at CBS Studio Center during a July heat wave. The soundstage had no AC, network policy. They shut it down during filming because noise ruins audio. Normally, they'd open giant bay doors between takes, but this scene required hundreds of extras as wedding guests. Every time doors opened, people wandered off. Resetting 200 people took 20 minutes minimum. Director Andy Ackerman made a call. Doors stay closed. Production lights, 40-plus massive bulbs pumping heat, stayed on 5 straight hours. Floor temperature hit 108 degrees. Julia wore long sleeves, a full skirt, tights, heels, and full makeup. Richards wore a full wool suit, buttoned. Between takes, Julia collapsed in a director's chair, fanning herself with script pages. Makeup crew standing by with ice packs. Here's what made it worse. Jerry kept forgetting choreography. Not on purpose, heat made everyone foggy. They'd get 5 bars in, and Jerry would go the wrong direction. Cut, reset, start over. Julia, already overheated, doing the full routine again. Spinning, kicking, jumping. Take 12. Jerry messed up again. Julia mid-spin just stopped. Bent over, hands on knees. I can't breathe. The assistant director brought water. She drank it, immediately threw up into a trash can off camera. The cast and crew went silent. Ackerman called a 20-minute break. Opened the doors. Medic checked Julia. Borderline heat exhaustion. Julia insisted on continuing. They finished, take 16. Watch that scene now. Notice Julia's flushed face, hair stuck to foreheads. That's 108-degree survival mode. Number 9. Elaine's dance was Julia's real moves, and she'll never live it down. The Little Kicks, September 1996. Elaine dances at a company party. Full body convulsions, thumbs out, kicking wildly. zero rhythm. Those were Julia Louis-Dreyfus's actual dance moves. She had no idea they'd use them. The script called for terrible dancing. Julia asked how bad. The director said, "Just dance like you normally would." Julia, assuming they'd choreograph later, said, "Okay, here's how I dance." She did her thing. Thumb moves, kicks, everything. The entire crew went silent. Then someone started laughing. Everyone lost it. Julia, embarrassed, said, "What?" "That's just how I dance." The director said, "Perfect. We're using that." Julia said no. She thought it was a joke. Assumed they'd bring in a choreographer to create intentional bad dancing. They didn't. They filmed it exactly as rehearsal. No changes, no coaching. Julia later said she was mortified. Called friends after it aired, apologizing in advance. "I thought I'd be embarrassed for a week," she said. "It's been 25+ years." The dance became one of the most memorable moments in the series. Turned into GIFs, memes, recreated millions of times. Julia eventually made peace with it, but in interviews, you can still see her cringe. The show took her real dancing, made fun of it, and turned it into television history. Elaine's dance proves sometimes your most embarrassing moment becomes your legacy, when vulnerability becomes iconic. Number 8. The soup Nazi destroyed his own business because of one episode. The Soup Nazi aired November 2nd, 1995. By Monday morning, Al Yeganey's life was over. Yeganey owned Soup Kitchen International on West 55th Street since 1984. Best soup in Manhattan, but you followed his rules. Stand to right, money ready. Order clearly, no questions, no substitutions. Eye contact prohibited. Speaking to anyone equals banned. Any complaints, lifetime ban. Larry David went there in 1994, asked a question out of sequence. Yeganey screamed, "No soup for you, get out." Larry, stunned, walked out, then thought, "This is the greatest character ever." The episode aired November 1995. "No soup for you" becomes an instant catchphrase. Tuesday morning, the line outside Yeganey's shop triples. But these aren't regular customers. Tourists with cameras performing. Ordering wrong on purpose to get yelled at. College kids giggling, couples recreating the scene. Someone yells "no soup for you" at Yeganey before he can speak. He lost it, screaming, throwing people out, banning entire groups. But they kept coming for weeks. Yeganey couldn't run his business, couldn't serve regulars. Every transaction became performance. In December 1995, Yeganey hired a lawyer and wanted to sue NBC. Larry David, everyone. The lawyer says, "You can't sue, they didn't use your name, it's satire." Yeganey goes to press instead, gives interviews trashing the show, says Larry humiliated him, ruined his reputation. The publicity made it worse. National tourists coming, the line never ends. In 1996, Yeganey closed its original location. 1998 opened a new location in a different neighborhood. Tourists find it within a week. 2004 closes that too. Multiple locations over years. Every one tourists show up, he closes. In a 2016 interview, Yeganey said the Seinfeld episode was the worst thing that happened to me. Larry's response? He should have enjoyed it. We made him famous. Number 7. The episode NBC refused to air in entire cities. The contest is considered one of the greatest sitcom episodes ever written. Won an Emmy in the Library of Congress. NBC almost refused to air it. Larry David pitched it in the writer's room. 4 friends bet about self-control. Except they'd never say the actual word. The room went silent. Someone said, "NBC will never allow this." The script went to Standards and Practices, the censors. They read it, called an emergency meeting. Notes came back. Absolutely not. This cannot air. Larry argued, "We never say the word, never show anything. It's all implied." Censors said, "We know exactly what it's about." The answer is no. This went back and forth for weeks. Episode written, table read done, NBC wouldn't approve. Finally, Larry made a deal. Read the script to your teenage kids. If they don't get it, we can air it. One executive did. His 14-year-old son said, "I don't understand what the contest is about." Complete lie. The kid absolutely knew. But the executive wanted boundaries pushed. Reported back, "My son didn't get it. It's fine." NBC approved with one condition. The master of my domain had to be explained as being about self-control. They added one line for cover. The episode aired November 18, 1992. Some NBC affiliates refused to broadcast it. Entire markets didn't see it, but the ones that did? Phones lit up. Some complaints, but mostly people saying it was the funniest thing ever. It won the Emmy for Outstanding Writing. The episode that was almost banned became the most celebrated. Now, it's in the Library of Congress as culturally significant. The episode networks wouldn't touch became the one everyone remembers. Number 6. The backwards episode that almost broke the entire crew. The Betrayal, Season 9. The entire episode plays in reverse chronological order. Memento came out 2 years later. Seinfeld did it first. It nearly broke everyone involved. Actors had to perform emotional arcs backwards. George, angry in one scene, has to be calm in the next, which happened earlier chronologically. Richards said it was the most challenging acting I've ever done. Couldn't rely on normal scene progression. Every emotion reverse-engineered. Continuity was impossible. The costume designer is constantly asking what they are wearing in the scene that happens after this chronologically, but we shot last week. The script supervisor kept 3 different timeline documents. Props labeled everything with timestamps. Shooting schedule ballooned. Normally, 3 or 4 takes per scene. For The Betrayal, every scene took 10+ because someone would get emotional continuity wrong. The crew almost revolted. The lighting director said, "This is ridiculous. It's a sitcom, not Citizen Kane." Camera operators reviewing previous scenes constantly to match angles that technically happened later. Editor Janet Ashikaga won an Emmy for cutting this. She deserved it. Had to assemble a coherent story from scenes shot completely out of narrative order, meant to be watched backwards. Test audiences were confused. NBC worried it was too experimental. But when it aired, critics loved it. Fans were impressed. 3 times normal production time, double the budget, crew on edge of mutiny, and it worked. Ambition is great until someone has to make it happen. Number 5. The finale that put them on trial for being terrible people. May 14, 1998. 76 million people watched the Seinfeld finale. Most hated it. Jerry, George, Elaine, Kramer get arrested for violating a Good Samaritan law. They filmed someone getting carjacked instead of helping. Then, a trial. Every person they'd wronged over 9 seasons testified. Victims paraded through. Catalog of selfishness on display. Fans were furious. Where are the laughs? This isn't funny. They ruined it. Here's what people missed. Larry David intentionally put them on a moral trial. These 4 were terrible. Selfish, petty, cruel. For 9 years, audiences laughed at their awfulness. The finale said, "Let's examine what we've been laughing at." A moral reckoning disguised as a courtroom episode. David later admitted, "We wanted to show these people hadn't learned anything. Hadn't grown. Same selfish jerks at the end as beginning. No hugging, no learning. That was always the rule." Other sitcoms gave characters redemption arcs. Seinfeld gave them prison sentences. Critics initially panned it. The New York Times called it disappointing. But modern reappraisal? Actually brilliant. People now recognize it as a subversive ending, refusing to give audiences the warm resolution they expected. Jason Alexander defended it. "If we'd hugged and learned a lesson, you'd hate us for betraying 9 years of the show." Still, in 1998, after waiting weeks between episodes for years, Fans wanted catharsis. They got judgment. The ending nobody wanted became the ending that made sense. Number 4. Larry David's Scream, hiding in over 40 episodes. Larry David recorded one scream, one guttural, furious scream during a recording session. Sound editors thought it was hilarious, so they hid it throughout the entire series. Like, Where's Waldo for audio? It appears in over 40 episodes. Background noise, muffled yells off-screen, sometimes distorted. Examples include the background crowd in the subway, distant scream when Kramer falls in the pilot, muffled yelling from another apartment in the Andrea Doria. Fans started tracking every occurrence, online databases cataloging every Larry scream. Some obvious ones, once you know. Others are buried so deep in the sound mix you'd need headphones. The sound team treated it like a running inside joke. Easter egg before Easter eggs were a thing. Rumor has it the scream appears in the finale, but nobody's definitively found it. Some claim courtroom background noise, others say myths. Larry never confirmed how many times it actually appears. One editor admitted we put it in places even we forgot about. The Wilhelm scream of sitcoms, except it's Larry David's rage, eternally echoing through a show about nothing, when your anger becomes immortal. Number 3. The one rule that changed television forever. Early in development, Jerry and Larry made one creative rule. No hugging, no learning. That was the philosophy. Most sitcoms follow a formula. The character makes mistakes, faces consequences, learns lessons, group hugs, emotional music, credits. Full House, Family Matters, Fresh Prince, all built on moral growth. Seinfeld said absolutely not. Characters would never learn. Same mistakes forever. No growth, no redemption, no sentimental endings. George never stopped lying. Kramer never matured. Elaine remained ruthlessly competitive. Jerry stayed emotionally detached. That honesty made it brilliant. Real people don't learn lessons every week. They repeat patterns. Make the same mistakes. Stay fundamentally themselves. Larry said, "People don't change. That's the truth nobody admits." This was revolutionary in the 90s. Every sitcom teaches lessons. Seinfeld characters stayed frozen in selfishness. Moments they almost broke the rule. The script got too sentimental. Larry would cut them. This isn't us. The finale sealed it. Prison instead of learning anything. No hugging, no learning, no exceptions. This influenced everything after. It's Always Sunny. Characters get worse. Arrested Development? No one learns. Curb Your Enthusiasm. Larry being Larry forever. Even Succession follows this. People staying terrible is more interesting than redemption. The anti-sitcom became the template. Honesty beats heartwarming every time. Number 2. The $110 million offer that made a CEO go numb. May 1998. Seinfeld #1 show in America. 38 million viewers weekly. NBC estimated $200 million annually. GE CEO Jack Welch, NBC's parent company, gave one order: get season 10. Warren Littlefield went to Jerry with an offer. $5 million per episode, 22 episodes, $110 million total. "We didn't mess around," Littlefield said. "What we put on the table was unheard of. Tremendous confidence, no one could walk away." Jerry said, "No. Not let me think. Just no." When Jack Welch heard Jerry's answer, one executive said Jack just went numb. They couldn't believe it. Nobody turns down $110 million. Here's what made it messier. Jerry decided alone and didn't consult the cast. Julia was pregnant and wanted a stable income. Jason wanted to continue. He'd never be this famous again. They found out from Variety, not Jerry. Julia said it was frustrating, affected everyone. Jason admitted he was angry. $5 million per episode was generational wealth. Jerry's reasoning? He told Littlefield, "I don't have a life. Not married, no kids. Quality of life decision. Larry had left after season 7. Jerry was writing, producing, starring alone for 2 years. Exhausted. He told Howard Stern the love affair between us and the audience was so white-hot. I had to respect that. Couldn't let it age and wither. Looking back, he was right. How many shows limped through terrible final seasons? But in 1998, walking away from $110 million felt insane. The biggest no in television history. Number 1. From worst pilot ever to billion-dollar empire. Let's bring it all together. July 1989, worst pilot test in NBC history. Overall evaluation, weak. Audience saying these are losers. Fire Jerry, get a real actor. Castle Rock hedges bets with Ann Gillian, which tests great. Seinfeld dies, officially canceled. Then Rick Ludwin makes an unauthorized bet. $400,000 of special money for 4 more episodes. Smallest order in television history. Jerry asks, has anything worked with 4 episodes? Ludwin admits he doesn't know. They do it anyway. Season 1, 5 episodes total. Almost nobody watches. Larry wants to quit. Jerry convinces him. Season 2, NBC orders 13. Schedules against Home Improvement. It got slaughtered, Littlefield recalled, but they'd committed. Moved it after Cheers. 1 more shot. Slowly, audiences found it. Seasons 2 and 3, modest growth. Season 4, climbing rankings. Season 5, top 10. Season 6, number 1 show in America. Final season, 38 million viewers per episode. The finale, 76.3 million viewers. 4th most watched finale ever. Financial legacy? Syndication deals worth billions. Netflix paid $500 million for streaming rights. Jerry's net worth roughly $950 million. Cultural impact? Changed what sitcoms could be. Proved you didn't need hugging and learning. Flawed people staying flawed was more honest than redemption. And there you have it, 15 weird facts about the show about nothing that became everything. Which fact blew your mind? Tell us in the comments. Hit that like button if this brought back memories. Subscribe to the channel for more deep dives. Until next time.